Hi, everyone online. Just letting you guys know that we are working through some technology, but we expect to have our virtual setup fully up and running by the time that the meeting really starts at 9. So right now, folks are getting settled, and we'll start to go over kind of a new new committee member orientation in just a few moments, but the full meeting will start at 9.
All right, thank you.
Hello, folks online. Just checking in on you. We have been having more technical difficulties, but I see the solution being implemented within 5 minutes so that you guys can hear the room clearly, and I'll be able to share screens.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. It starts automatically. Yeah, for next. December may be a little easier. Cause we got a cool day.
We need to start with your powers of get back on the phone. For new customer. Gotta get involved in this, these matters.
There's kids that we started on. I'm gonna look into that, 'cause that's high school, right?
That's.
I'll get some kids. Today, yes.
Until.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's so plays so well. Last year, even though it wasn't, they had people come present, and they felt they were presenting to adults, so they had the same.
Yeah.
They're starting to finally do it, because you don't get.
Thank you, you're here.
So.
You guys can all find it.
They're not.
Get your bagels and coffee.
I just got to. Yeah. Full person. Oh.
Just a quick test, can the folks online hear us?
Oh.
Yes, I can.
Wonderful, and Michael, we can hear you, the room can hear you.
All right.
Thank you. If we need to have a volume there,
Yeah. Of course. I'm the phone again. Oh, junior.
Instead of having see it.
Yeah.
And. Very easy to grow. People that were presenting.
Yeah.
Yes.
That sounds familiar. Oh, that sounds cute.
Oh, as is.
Can one of our virtual participants speak again, please?
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good morning. How's everybody?
We're just working on making sure that the whole room can hear you guys.
Are we clear?
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you so much.
So can you, I turn it down just so that you get louder.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Let me know who I can talk to. Support you all. Thank you all for your work and help. Okay. Oh, I know. All right, well, I think whenever you guys are ready.
All right.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for everyone who is physically present and who is virtually present today for our allocations meeting. I guess we can first kind of briefly just go on, I guess, just kind of do a roll call to make sure we have the amount of people we needed here to be able to vote on allocations. Let's first start with people present. My name is George Redmond. I'm the chair. Buncombe County JCPC to the right of me.
Lorraine Williams, area consultant with juvenile justice. Julia Clement, chief court counselor with juvenile justice.
Angie Garner via Health.
Jeremy Bricker, Clearvita.
Kadira Ross, Buncombe County Public Health. Hannah Ledgerton, a Youth Justice Manager with Buncombe County Staff Support.
Angelica Tyler with Kate. Beth Kraft, community member.
Sandra Whitner, community member.
Craig Loveland, Asheville Police Department.
Angel Redmond, Parks and Rec.
And who do we have online?
At the moment, we've got Jose and Michael Hayes. Do you guys want to say hello?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Buenos dias.
Buenos
Buenos
dias.
dias.
Yes.
And I know Dr. Noriel Armstrong will be joining us in person in a little while, and I think Shannon Martin is planning to join online in a little while. Brandon Priester was also trying to join online. Haven't seen him show up in the Zoom yet.
All right, so it looks like we have Annette and Umoja online virtually. We also have our programs here present as well. I'll give an introduction or just kind of tell us.
Richard Harrow from Umoja Health, Wellness and Justice
How you doing?
Operation.
Kim Castano for Inspiring Family. Karen Pearson with Restorative Services, Team Court and Earn and Learn.
Matthew Dennis with Pivot.WNC.
Thanks for all the programs for being here. This is a wonderful day. This is the time where we can allocate funding for our programs. And so as we pass along, I'll pass this torch to Sister Angel Redmond to lead off the allocations process.
Okay, so the purpose of the allocations is to review and evaluate program applications as well as take into consideration the monitoring committee suggestions. We listen to the program presentations, then deliberate with the allocations committee to decide distribution for 2 years. A minimum of 6 voting members need to be present.
It looks like we've met. We've got the 6 voting members present. We've got the programs here as well. We've already went through the planning and monitoring. So here we are as the allocation. At this point, I believe we have presenters that can present. Presenters have about 10 minutes to present, and then we'll do about 5 minutes of Q&A. Any program here want to start first? Sounds good.
Angel, did you want to make a note of what we talked about at this point in time or later?
You talking about the remaining? Yeah, so before we get started on the presentations, so normally our allocations amount is $644,477. What's being requested from the programs this year is $633,617. So there's a remaining of $10,860 that's left on the table. The first time we've kind of had this in a while. We don't have to do math like we did before and track and do all that kind of stuff. So we say that with all that saying, with all the programs that are here, obviously these funds will kick in July 1st and be able to be used by December. So any sort of budget revisions, anything like that you plan on doing, we will take those when we have a full board to be able to vote on those. But in the future, as y'all want to, either next board meeting or the one after, if you feel like you've got something in your budget that needs to be revised and you can utilize these funds, then we will address those at our next board meetings that we have coming up. Sound good? All right. Bye.
Is this the best place to stay?
It's a great place to stand. This one, next slide. I'm sorry, we're not that coordinated this time.
Great. Okay, so again, I'm Kim Castano and I'm from Aspire, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Kids at Work program and the Connection program. So Kids at Work has been our longest standing program here in Buncombe County. And we started off with a grant back in like 2009. So that got us going. That was with Governor's Prime Commission. And after that startup funding had ended, then we became funded by the JCPC. And since then, we've served a lot of young people. This is a picture that was done after graduation from many of our students. And at graduation ceremonies, our kids and our families get together. They cook a special meal together, and it's conducted like a catered event. We have awards and things like that, and so the kids really get to shine, and it's a very happy event. So the Kids at Work program, go ahead, next slide. The Kids at Work program generally lasts for 16 weeks. However, for kids that are age 15 and up, the program lasts for 20 weeks. And one of the differences there is that for the 16 weeks is what we consider our core program, where we deliver interpersonal skill building. So we're really working on how kids are communicating with one another, how they advocate for themselves effectively. We're trying to help kids learn how to deal with conflict. When something comes up they don't like or they don't agree with, how are they going to handle themselves in that situation? So they don't get suspended from school, right? Because then that's going to be something that is going to affect their academic progress. It makes it less likely that they're going to finish high school and those kinds of things. So we really want to be protective. It also can lead to interpersonal conflict or fights, which leads to complaints, either through school justice partnership, or if those complaints happen outside the school, then it could be something that goes to juvenile justice. So our program is like a half and half split. Okay, so we didn't just want to come in and do interpersonal skills by itself. So instead, the first half of the class is focused on that. And then the second half of the class is led by the professional chef, where we work on culinary skills. The culinary skills help them to understand different commercial equipment. So that helps with job readiness. And also how to cook for themselves, feed themselves at home, how to have a healthy diet, and a little bit about nutrition and those sorts of things, with some of our volunteers from UNCA, where we have the classes, come in and help educate our kids about that at the Wellness Center. Next slide. We do provide transportation for our kids. And so that, we're very thankful. Thank you very much for, the recent allocation for the other van that we needed. So, and the kids, they do Say It Straight, and Say It Straight is the evidence-based model that we use, and that is actually showing that the kids that complete that program are 4 times less likely to have a school-based complaint. So that's really important for us and what our mission is here as JCPC. Next slide. So our kids, a lot of times they say, I have anger management problems, and so we teach them how to respond versus react, and just be able to advocate for themselves in an appropriate manner. Next one. Our kids learn how to work together as a team. We actually complete a meal in every class, and we sit down together family style. And so a lot of times our kids know each other from school or from other, places in the community. Sometimes there might have been some strife between people. And so a lot of times we talk about that early on and work to resolve those kinds of conflicts. Then they learn how to work together despite any conflicts that they might have had in the past, or any disagreement. So we really provide a lot of coaching in the moment to help them work through those situations. Next slide. We do have parent involvement with the kids. And so we have parent night once a month, and the parents come down, and the kids work in the kitchen to prepare a meal. And then we teach the same interpersonal skill building to the parents that we do to the kids. And the reason for that is to help promote good communication at home. So if they both are using similar strategies and ways of communicating, then they're kind of speaking each other's language, and it's better for them to be able to resolve conflicts. There's a young man that completed his ServSafe certification. And like I said, that is another aspect of our program with that add-on to 20 weeks. And that just provides 4 additional sessions. We teach Serve Safe throughout the class in the practice of everything that we do. We're teaching about sanitation, safe practices with food, but we do a concentrated 4 sessions to help prepare them for the exam. And we do have a very high pass rate. Next one. All right, so that was Kids at Work. And if it's all right, I can just keep going into the Connection.
Yeah.
So Connection is a program that is relatively new, as you all know. You can go to the next slide. And it's designed to provide exposure for kids. We're always looking for opportunities that it doesn't matter how old a kid is for them to get engaged in something and to do something and potentially make a living, right? Because what are we competing with? We're competing with kids that could go out in the neighborhood and sell drugs and get money, right? So we want to give them another option, a positive option, something that they're interested in. And maybe they're not into academics. Maybe they're not into sports. Maybe they don't have those opportunities to participate in after-school activities. That was one of the elevated things in Buncombe County's risk and needs, either that they couldn't do it, maybe because of transportation, that's a common barrier, or they weren't interested in the school activities. So we want to create things that kids are interested in doing. They love the culinary arts, they're interested in getting their hands involved and learning from a professional chef. And similarly, for the kids that are interested in music, cinema, filmmaking, those sorts of things, we wanted to give them an outlet and opportunity to be able to engage in those things. So they learn from professional instructors, and I have structured this differently, starting with this year and moving into next year. As you guys know, we had some different contractors that we worked with at different points, and we just need to do something different, because it wasn't working. Like maybe they didn't have the resources. Things have been difficult, especially since the hurricane. So we posted for a cinematographer and for a music and audio instructor. And the thought behind that is for these 2 multimedia instructors to work in tandem. And we've identified, one of the issues that we saw with some of our contractors was that they had difficulty with instructor retention. And so when we delve into that a little bit more, we found out that some of that had to do with pay. Like if they could get a gig or something where they could get paid more somewhere else, then they weren't necessarily going to stick with us on a consistent basis. So what we did with this year's contract is we increased the pay to be competitive with other gigs in the area of how much they would pay an hour. And we have 2 instructors that are working in tandem. Because the other problem that we had was we provided a vocational coach and the contractor provided a multimedia instructor. But guess what? If the multimedia instructor couldn't make it, then we have a vocational coach without somebody that has the hard technical skills that are needed to run this class. So now, by having 2 multimedia instructors, instead of having that vocational coach, you've got 2 people with that technical expertise and specialization. So even if one is out, I can sub in an extra helper, but we still have somebody that has the technical knowledge needed to run that class. Next slide. So the kids learn about different types of software programs to edit audio and edit video. Next slide. We've done some cool things, like we utilize, since we're at UNCA, we have the Kimmel Center. And we did a really cool project one day where the kids got to simulate, pretend like they were doing a sports cast, and we used the arena. So like we sat in there and they were, having comment, and, we videoed them doing that and recorded them talking with each other and making commentary. So it was pretty cool. Whenever there is opportunities for us to expose kids to, whether that's radio stations or other opportunities, Moog Music has been very welcoming of our kids, to expose them about what's available for production here in the area, from synthesizers, building those synthesizers. We actually build those here, and also any kind of music production related to that. Next slide. So we want them to be able to have different exposure. So if kids are interested in writing lyrics and recording a song, they can do that in this program. If the kids want to create a short film, they can do that in this program. And so depending on what their interest, they want to run lighting, somebody else wants to, do the microphones, they get exposure and hands-on to all those different facets. So it's an opportunity for them to work as a team and collaborate on projects together to create a finished product. So it very much is student-led, based on what their interests are. And by providing both the cinema aspect and the music aspect simultaneously, we're really going to help to promote engagement with the kids in terms of everybody's busy doing their part of that project at one time. Is that it? That might have been the last one. Okay. So yeah, so that's you heard about Kids at Work and the Connection program. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
So have y'all hired people already for the vocational?
We have. Yeah, we're just waiting to start. We have a budget revision that is pending right now because right now it's a contract item. And so I technically don't even have a line item to pay them out of at this moment.
Is there any thought of using, UNCA's got a program that does this? You're already in UNCA.
Yeah.
I know that you've got, it seems like a fix right now, but is that ever a thought to being able to utilize someone within that communication department?
Yeah, of
and
course.
being able to,
And Montreat also has a music production department, and we've been in contact with their professors and stuff, and they're willing to come in and volunteer. So,
Okay.
It'd be great for them to see, where do I go next? If I want to keep going, what's the next thing for me? And a lot of times that can help improve motivation for kids to finish school and things like that.
So it looks like 3/4 of the funding for next year would be going towards the Connection program.
It's flip-flop.
Sorry,
Yeah,
okay,
sorry,
no,
yeah.
okay.
You didn't get the arrows back, sorry.
Yeah, to make it out. Yeah, got it. Things that Kim caught this morning. Okay.
Yeah, so for Kids at Work, we were, for the current fiscal year, we were committed to serve 36, and I wanted to increase that back to 42, which if you look at previous years in 22, 23, we had served 43 kids. So I wanted to increase that capacity and serve more kids with Kids at Work, but I just need the funds to be able to do that. Other changes that you'll see would be the 2 multimedia instructors instead of the 1. And then also bringing my direct care staff, which include, also the chef and the interpersonal coach to the current published living wage for Asheville.
Two other things of note. One is that Kim also called the last year's allocations were not actually correct. Their last year's allocations were $105,549. So the request this year is an increase, but it's not going from 85,000
Right.
to 117. It's going from 105,000 to 117.
Right. So it's about a $12,000 increase to cover those changes that I just discussed.
Also,
And
as
increase
a reminder, if you didn't come in late, in the front of your binder, behind the allocations policy, there should be printouts of the program reports that the programs have done. So if you want to take a look at the number you served year to date and some of the feedback on the current program status, that's there as well.
Yes,
So the year to date for the Connection program is 0.
that's correct.
Do they choose between Kids at Work and the Connection program?
I think generally at the court counselor level, they do. The court counselors discuss, program options and things like that, and then they can choose from there.
As part of that, those zeros, the lack of consistency, right, with finding instruction.
That's correct.
So that's why perhaps core counselors aren't pushing towards that until there's more stability
That's right.
within that program.
So what's the concern, not this year, but last year with under the old model that was mentioned.
Yeah, we had,
Court services had some that would go to the program and it would end up being canceled.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, and Sylvia had asked us at that time, you know, can we move those kids over to Kids at Work so they could have consistency? And so we did that. And then that's when we switched contractors.
Their report for the connections.
Because there was no kids served as of yet.
So is there any money left? I mean, if Kids at Work was 78 and you all were awarded 105. I mean, was that money spent or is there money that will be left over?
There is money that we have right now that I've shifted from that contract to the direct care staff. And so that money is ready to conduct classes from this point forward through the end of the year. And I'm expecting to fully utilize those funds. We're talking about the current year, yes.
That's what you have the budget
Revision.
pending. If we happen to get to a point today where we have a quorum for our whole JCPC council, which I'll keep a close eye on, then there is a budget revision on the table that Aspire has asked that if we get to that point of having a quorum, that could be considered so that they could move that along quickly.
Referrals, mainly from DJJ.
Primarily, 91% of our referrals have come from DJJ. And Sergeant Loveland is helping us with some SRO referrals, particularly for the connection program. And
I think that's what we're trying to flip, obviously, is to get that in the hands of the SROs and full counselors. So I wanted to make sure that hopefully that process works.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation about the connections group, I was obviously monitoring for the group and was very encouraged by the program, the connections program. And it's unfortunate that, the staff that you had hired on were not committed to it. Let's just be real. I know that you have to say things differently than I do. So I appreciate that you're continuing with it. I appreciate that you're looking to spend that money in the connection side as well for the rest of the year. I'd love to have a side conversation of whether that young man that I sent you guys, if that worked out or not. But with that being said, the program itself, both Kids at Work and the connections were very highly recommended from that committee. So the folks over there were very excited about it. Appreciate it.
Thanks, and thanks for your support.
I guess there's thoughts, right, that schools still have home ec or still have programs that kind of deal with culinary, right? High schools still have those types of programs. So instead of waiting, I guess, for kids to get in trouble, right, to start that referral, it seems like if some are already guided in that direction anyway, to kind of lead that referral process, who's ever already in there, perhaps in there. It seems like it would be extremely beneficial if we can get ahead of that and sort of prevention kind of way.
Yeah.
We looked at the programming and the details on the work, and I was looking to sign up.
Yeah. I need to learn how to cook, so
Every week was something that was different, like, and we were all very impressed, just how, not only with the food that they're preparing, and each week it's different, but the fact that they're learning, the sanitation side of it too, so very impressive.
And they get to get out in the community too and do the catering events. And that's a great way for kids to be spotlighted in a positive way.
We were invited to go and eat with them. I don't know about you guys, but at least us. I'm on that committee.
Is Moog still up? Moog?
No, I think.
No, that went down. The one that's right here downtown.
There's.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah, they just need an answer, yeah.
It's Moog.
Sorry.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out the connection there, because I knew
Yeah.
that had a lot of musical multi.
Yeah. They still make those synthesizers. They still produce them.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone here present or anyone virtually? Have any questions they'd like to ask about connections or about Kids at Work?
And how many weeks did you say the connection?
It's 6 months, that program, because it's vocational skills. And so with the spec type, that it is a longer duration.
Once a week?
Yes. And it's a 3-hour class.
Yeah, and I'll just say one thing that all the programs run into, depending on, when we cover, this year we did cover staff in the fall, usually because of October meeting being more of a resource sharing. But we always run into, for each of the programs, each step type or each program type has a certain recommended dosage and duration that we know is most effective for that type of programming to help reduce recidivism. And then you've got you that are working with DJJ for a limited amount of time, and they might be on, especially if they're on a diversion contract, their diversion contract might be much shorter than what the program recommendation would be for length of stay. And so you've got that where you're always trying to keep youth engaged, and just because they finish their diversion contract or finish their core contract doesn't mean they can't still be involved in programs. But it is always a challenge because sometimes, once that contract is up, sometimes it is harder to keep youth involved. So that speaks to the power of the programs when they are able to do that and hopefully engage the youth by that time.
We couldn't mirror the diversion to the program. I know it seems long, but it seems like a condition to be met. It's a completion of the program. I could see how it, obviously 6 months is, we want disposition to things in 3 months, so I can see how that.
So yeah, they're on a contract up to 6 months, so they'll have opportunity to complete the program, but once they're 6 months.
Is that, and that's up.
You gotta let them know.
So they're done. Up to them.
Is this from, so once a week, 3 hours, is this from 3 to 6?
It's from 4 to 7.
4 to 7?
Yeah, to give us time to pick them up at the different schools. And if they're not in school, then we can pick them up from home.
Do you provide snack?
Oh, yeah. The chef, they actually get to eat, because our Kids at Work class is running in the same building, just in the teaching kitchen.
Yeah.
And so they prepare food for everybody. And so everybody gets to eat a good meal.
Oh. Any other questions? Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So Aspire's down. Next we have Buncombe Alternatives. Good morning.
Quiet.
Two programs also, so I guess just a show of hands. Does everyone know what Team Court does? Yes, okay. Wait, I can speak a little swifter in my presentation. So Buncombe Alternatives hosts both Earn and Learn and Buncombe County Team Court, which is, they're both restorative justice programs. One is a component of community service and restitution, and the other is its own component, Teen Court. I could do math, he's not here.
I'm gonna pull up.
You can all do each other's programs. And
Computer is on this track.
Okay. Absolutely. So one interesting thing that is notable in school justice partnership, we usually try to, well, we have been since the first year of inception, the pilot year, which was 2023. What we noticed was a distinct shift in some of the divergent cases from Earn and Learn went to Teen Court. So if you notice in the report that Lorraine handed you, does this count? Because I haven't started yet. In 2023, we had 48. We had 71 referrals to Earn and Learn, and you'll notice we had 48 in Earn and Learn in 23. And as that paradigm started to shift after that first year of school justice partnership, we saw, and the lack of referrals across the state and in the county. Earn and Learn had 40 in 24 and 64 in teen court. And again, this year's a little awkward for everyone, but as things pick up, you'll notice 15 admitted in Earn and Learn, and then 30 in teen court. So we'll see those start to pick up, but it's interesting for us to monitor that and see what's been going on positively in the school with the SROs and the relationship with DSS and that whole school justice partnership piece. So I'll ask for my $10,000 back, because you'll notice both programs are starting to do the paraded methodology.
Yeah.
And so one of our goals in our PEP was to start seeking additional funds for this program. And we are asking for grant support in the community for school justice partnership. So we'll see if referrals pick up like they are right now, these two programs, maybe we'll have a revision in place if that 10,000 is still available next year. All right, so we'll start Buncombe County Teen Court. Since most of you know about this program, it is funded through JCPC. On the clicker, so. You know our mission, Teen Court's a diversion program from juvenile court and an alternative to out-of-school suspension. Some of the things like these other programs that are phenomenal that hold hands with us as well. We do community service projects, apology letters, victim offender mediation, interpersonal vocational skills, evidence-based journaling, which I have here if you want to take a look at them. We also serve offenders 16 through 18 who are allowed restitution to a property or a victim if they need it. And our program accepts reoffending youth per state's request. So in the past, if you've been on this committee, we've always accepted first-time offenders into this program. And now, due to state regulations, and Lorraine can speak on this if she would like, but we do through School Justice Partnership. The child goes through school-based teen court, and then an SRO does a school-based referral and you come directly to court services. You can see them once or twice in the system now. So it's not just for first-time offenders any longer. Some of our program goals, hopefully just by show of hands, did everybody read the program agreements? Okay, or we can stick over this, you know that, skip over this. The one thing that we really enjoy right now is the community collaboration that is going on, not just with DJJ, but other programs, Unite, Emoja, Pivot, Kids at Work, just everyone that we work with. Not only is that community collaboration, but we're seeing it strengthen the family and the adults as well. We're having a lot of visitors come to Teen Court to see what it's all about, work with us to better that communication with the schools as well. So the ultimate goal is promoting the long-term behavioral change, not just with the client, but also in the household, whether that's the parent, the guardian, or whomever they're working with, so. Target population is 11 through 18, who are first-time juvenile offenders and have admitted guilt to their offense. The Teen Court program does not accept any offense above a Class A1 misdemeanor. And the program serves youth who have been placed on diversion contracts. And we heard about that. One thing I want to touch on is keeping youth involved with something that we really concentrated on with duration. We know that Teen Court's not steppable, but Earn and Learn is. And one of the things we're noticing is that when these client contracts are complete, as you say, a vast majority of our youth want to stay involved with either Earn and Learn and or the Teen Court program. So we just trained, I think, Celia, there were 4 or 5 or 6 kids Monday night in the attorney training that took place, and they were all brand new attorneys. 2 of those were former clients. So we're seeing a greater representation of our community base who are handing down the sanctions to other youth. And they think it's kind of fun too. Okay. Some of the highlights speak for themselves. I think we have one more training. James Mills and Yolanda are doing our training on the 24th. So if you want to come, that's a great time to come see some stuff in action. And it is mandatory for the school-based program and for direct referrals. that our SROs, DSS, anyone doing a direct referral before that takes place has to come witness in person the team court program. And this is strengthening that communication. If you read our implementation report, that was one of the serious communication gaps that we were having. So now that face-to-face, instead of a room full of 8 a.m. SROs who have heard the same thing over and over, now you actually get to take part in it. And that's a little more of a commitment there. So clients remaining on as volunteers, our attorneys are taking youth bar exams, so that's a fun thing there. Our board expansion into the development side of the household. Accountability, not just for the youth, but for the parent as well, making those a mandatory relationship. Some points of interest, I think we've already touched on a lot of these with the SROs, school-based teen court. We really hope that with our MRU and everything going on with Helene, that in 2025-26, we'll be back in the schools. We understand that direct referrals right now from school-based referrals is happening, and we can accommodate that. That's not a problem, especially right now. April will see a vast majority of truancy cases and lower misdemeanors start coming our way. So we're prepared to handle that. Our peer review model and adult judge model, our adult judge model starts back up on the 24th since Helene. So we're really excited about that as well. I know this is just a snapshot, but at the last meeting, Regina Herring was asking for some more distinct information on our school justice partnership. And this is just showing you just a snapshot of the folks and where they're coming from. This is just during the implementation period. So we'll see this start to change, and it's going to be interesting for us to watch this change as we move forward. Obviously, juvenile court is our #1 referral source, so they take precedence. Last year, let's see, starting in May through the end of August into September, we were meeting every Monday night. So we appreciate the court working with us on that. So we'll see these start to change significantly as we move forward. Some points of interest, we already touched on a lot of these, but we did take advantage of not having so many referrals during Helene. They are picking up now, but just allowing our staff to get caught up on all of our training. I know we've met with the SROs and in this group, so I think we've exhausted that for this year. Everybody knows what the responsibilities are and how to move forward with that. And just watching as we move into life skills, like I said, we have a big life skills going on, build your character, and this is allowing kids to really come forward. It's a Lego program. I might need to get that 10,000 back just to buy Legos. I had no idea how much Legos were. But so we're doing that, and then we have the resume, the flash resume, which is allowing our kids in both programs to start immediately if for some reason they can't make it to team court in their first 2 weeks there. So we only have 3 weeks with these kids, so we want to make that impression early on. Just another breakdown. And hopefully this is being recorded so this can get out. This was asked at the last meeting as well. By age, they wanted to see, and I guess maybe this had a little bit to do with raise the age, but this is again just a snapshot of this reporting period and the implementation period to date of the age group in teen court. And you can just flip through these. These are just some pictures for your viewing. So during Helene, one of the things to point out is we really weren't skipping any beats because we already from COVID had the virtual capability. But you know, during Helene, we had no power, a lot of us, so we couldn't make that an option. So the peer review was a way for us to be able to pick up, add more journals, and just really keep that communication going for those who could. We were fortunate enough that Monday night, and I had said this in the last meeting, we had 14 clients from School Justice Partnership right before Helene hit on that Monday night, finished successfully. So I don't know if there was perfect timing in that, but that was a heaven sent. So we were able to pick up a peer jury until more recently with the judges model. lots of pictures. And again, that's a true depiction here. And Judge Scott was at our last teen court session. One of the neat things about this is the sheer fact that our volunteers are mixed with our jury pool as well. So it's not just teen court volunteers who are there specifically for that program, but a lot of our clients have a mandatory sanction to come back and be a juror. And now we've integrated where community service, if they need more hours and they so choose, our earn and learn clients can come participate as a juror. And so we're seeing a true reflection there as well of the kids we serve in our community. Where we are and where we're headed, we are thankful enough to have the forward-thinking evidence-based. Our interns, we have 3 active interns right now who are working with us. I didn't know there was so much Google technology out there that could just spit any pie chart out you need. So we're really excited about working with our interns. We served 64 youth in 2024, 25. And we're aimed to do that as well again. And we have 34 trained volunteers and 6 new adult volunteers in Buncombe County. And I can slide into Earn and Learn unless anyone has any more questions off the bat.
No, you can go ahead and we'll.
Okay. Maybe I'll turn to this presentation since it's under the same agency. So Earn and Learn is part of the JJTC model as well. It is specable, and one of the things we're focusing on with lower referrals is how can we keep that duration of time? How can we entice these kids who are so-called labeled in trouble, keeping them involved in community? How can they give back to the community? How can we assist them in doing better and realizing that they don't want to be statistic? They don't want to repeat the same patterns from family, themselves, etc. So one of the things is having points of interest, these flash resumes. If they know they want a GED, how can we support them in that process by helping them build a resume through a vision board without them knowing they're actually building a resume from point A to point B, whether they're with us for diversion from 3 months to 6 months to a year. So keeping the youth engaged through Legos or building your character or any of these kinds of things is going to be key for us, keeping that duration and that face-to-face and getting those points back at our next monitoring. When I say next monitoring, not at the local level, this is a 3-year monitoring where we can identify where some of our challenges and hurdles are. It's not always success and high percentages. There's a lot. The one thing we do have is retention in our staff, and for that we are grateful. So our quality of service is pretty high. We talked about Earn and Learn is the restorative community service. It's the only community service and restitution program in Buncombe County. And it does work with the youth assigned to the community service hours through DJJ. We do take school referrals. However, one of the ways that we have bridged the gap since Helene is if a child wants to stay in our program, we communicate with the court counselor. They are completing their contract with us through Earn and Learn and or teen court, but they can be referred and stay in our program even though they're complete. They might not be complete with the court counselor. Just say Mr. Lance has a kid on contract that they've completed with us. We can call him up and say they're complete with us. We can terminate them. But is it okay with you while they're on contract, they want to stay involved with our program? This is the first time we're seeing that happen, and that has a lot to do with the communication between the schools, the courts, and the agency. So kudos to everybody involved with that. The program goals, you've read these, and it's to hold the clients accountable for their actions and understanding their wrongdoing so that we can get them back. So we are lowering that recidivism rate and taking pressure off the court counselors, because identifiably these kids in this program are coming from a habitual offender household or themselves are identified as they're tardy, they're going to get in trouble again, property, self, community. We just want to make sure that they're understanding and reduce the crime. I tried to make it fast. It's not happening, is it?
No, Hannah's not helping you out at all.
My computer is threatening to stop working, so.
I bet I can keep going. Let me keep going, because I know, I was trying to make it fast for Angel. Okay, let's see. Woo. Okay, just you can jump to community partners. You guys know who our partners are, a lot of them, you're in this room. Some of the newer partners that we have, we've highlighted, but getting outside, I know the chief at the beginning of the year when we had the Restitution and Teen Court Association meeting, Lorraine actually spoke at it. One of the things that was identified was getting that garden, getting your hands dirty, getting programs in the school that we can continue throughout the year, but that we can hand over to the school or whatever agency we're working with. So that if Umoja or Pivot or anybody wants to come into that, they can pick that up as well. So one of the things that we've been working on is both with the Root Cause in Lord's Acre, which is out in the Fairview area, Christian Friends of Korea. We've got the Big Ivy Community Center, Warren Wilson, AB Tech, you name it, we've got it there. So that's one of the things that we've been working on is how to get the kids outside, even if it's for that short period of time. Earn and Learn already has it. So the teen court kids can come as an option as well for their community service. Obviously being supervised by a different group and not staying as long. So we don't want them to learn a new skill from another of skills and kids. Okay. It's okay. We'll just punt and kick and keep going. So like I mentioned, you're missing pictures from Warren Wilson College and our community garden breakfasts and all the things we do out there. Just flip through them when you get to it. There we go, Bartlett Arms, and we stay active with the Monarch Garden and Bee City. So obviously we were unable to fulfill some of those obligations in the fall, but we will be picking those up in the spring and the summer as we see referrals increase. Vanna Food Bank, this is a big relationship we have, and with everything they have gone through, we continue to work with Manna on the weekends right now and all of their new changes and things that they have going on. So that's been really a nice collaborative relationship that we have. And that's something that both our intern and our staff, that's a supervised community service event that we do. And then Shiloh Community Center, we still work with Rathbun House and Shiloh on a regular basis and working with them through Helene. Talk about boots on the ground. That was really impressive. All right, I'm gonna keep going. And then educational experiences, some of our vocational stuff that we're doing, both, if you don't know, one of our program directors has his own band here in town and is a musician. So like other programs, he's instrumental in getting kids involved with community service with what they like to do already, but even though it's restorative, holding them accountable for their actions and earning their community service while they're doing something that they like, whether it's music, Legos, poetry, any of those kinds of things. So skill building is one of the options that we offer. And this is more for the Earn and Learn youth on those days during the experiential. It's going to be about 5 to 6 hours. So the teen court kids would come to a different event if they were invited. And then the garden projects that I was speaking of that we were working on. And then the next is going to be another, you can just keep flipping through those. Another little snapshot here from some of our outcomes, and we're going to see this start to shift as well. In Earn and Learn, I just wanted to show, because I thought this was really neat, a kid coming to community service and the majority of the kids saying that they're having a positive experience. We found that to be, I guess, a pat on the back or, you know, just a kudos to us, a bragging right, that these kids who otherwise were, you know, doing wrong are learning from it and having a positive experience while they're doing it reluctantly in the beginning. So. One of the neat things about this agency that I'm starting to pick up on is how often the organizational chart can change. But one of the benefits from that is when middle management is no longer there or has retired or has moved on to something else, how the staff picks up, especially when they've been there as long as we have, picks up the pieces and keeps moving forward with the program, whether it's COVID, a hurricane, something personal, something professional, something in the community. All of us work together to make sure that we had, and y'all worked with Deja already, but to have a senior intern in place so that we keep Mars Hill, Warren Wilson, AD Tech, and UNCA active. We did not have to utilize this as much during COVID, obviously, but with folks not in that middle management area any longer, it's been really nice having interns with that new age technology, and all the things that they bring to the table. So that's been really nice to see our org chart evolve. And that's for both programs. We are asking for less money this year. Some of that you'll see shifted a little bit towards teen court, not too much, but it did. And so, yeah, I guess we don't really necessarily have to worry about anybody getting cut right now, but if we did, this program would have a hard time. We're already bare bones.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Any questions from anyone here present or anyone virtually? As to teen court or earn and learn?
And we'll be here all day, so.
I know you said earn and learn, we're trying to, I know that earn and learn is a lot of it's tag teamed up with DJJ, a lot of it deals with restitution. And I know School Justice Partnership wants to do referrals outside of that. I guess, is that even, I know you kind of mentioned that, but I can't even wrap my head around how a referral can come when it deals with restitution amounts and it's not mandated. It'd be great to obviously see forward-thinking parents and stuff wanting to enter an agreement, take care of responsibility and whatever victims have at that early phase, but
I think that would be an option. Community kids that's not involved with DJJ. But like I said, I don't wrap our heads around that, I'm not sure. I don't think that's.
Yeah, sometimes there will be like community service that a lesser teen court offense.
Correct.
Refer directly to, they've got something, but usually that just, like, I've had conversations with Karen about this, about how to structure that, and right now I think you all are keeping those youth in the teen court program and just they're doing that community service.
Correct.
Correct.
So you're asking for less money because you're having less referrals for the modern program essentially.
which is good, it's meaning less kids seeking restitution amounts in court.
Which could change. I mean, this is a multi-year platform and we
Yeah.
saw that change last year, but we were fortunate to get a grant to cover that. But if it picks up, I mean, we're not going to turn the kids away. That's our number one priority, so. But yes, correct, we are asking for less money as referrals pick up.
We are in the last 3 months of school, so.
They'll start coming.
I had a question on the earn and learn, the program report. So the budget was about 207,000 and you have 99 remaining at this point. Are there end of the year expenses? It seems like a big chunk of money to go through in the next 3 months, or do you think you'll have extra?
If we won't have extra.
Okay. And
We
what
were-
end of the year, what are those big expenses that? I mean, because it's almost half the year spent in the budget for each item, so.
A lot of that is going to be the restitution life skills that picks up as well. Salary based, any type of insurance, premiums, the lease that we renew, there's some big chunks that are coming out. So if you wanted to, you could look at those big chunks come out in our.
So it's all
budget line
year
item.
end expenses, year end expenses.
Mhm. Well, before year end, third quarter, final account, between third quarter and final. Thank you. Oh, go
Real
ahead.
quick, any link to teen court mock trial? It seems like that would be right. the kids that are interested in something like that would also be somewhat interested in mock trial or anything of that in schools? Is there some sort of connection or pathway that can kind of link them in, or do we see an overlap in any of that, if you're aware of?
No, in the past, we've hosted state mock trials here with Helene. It usually happens in October and then you gear up and you practice. But in this district, it's always been a positive for that. So I don't see an overlap. Our kids participate in it. So we usually have an adult judge who oversees it. And I think in this last one, it might have been Marvin, I'm not sure, or Martin, or Doug Tate. I'm not sure who did it, but they would take our group of kids, but we were here, so they did it. And it's usually about every 3 years, they'll rotate back to this district.
Yeah.
So. But after Helene, we wouldn't be ready even if they did host it right now, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, pivot, Matt.
All come together, yeah, try to do.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So a slight different approach for today's presentation. We've taken the two different offerings that we are currently doing and we made it into one program offering with two different components, the diversion component and the prevention component. If you can go to the next slide. As it has always been, this is an action-oriented, adventure-based goal-setting program, safe, challenge by choice, foundation for growth. This year's proposal, as I said, has two different components. Both components utilize the same exact clinical trainings. They have the same staff, and they are both based off the same structured scaffolded curriculum. The notable difference between the two is that the prevention referrals are for earlier intervention, and these are for students within the community with a slightly shorter delivery model because the prevention is an after-school delivery during the school day, during the school week and after school. We have permission from collaborating schools to enter the schools about 30 minutes before dismissal from leadership and school resource officers and counselors. Logistically, it helps us dodge a lot of buses, and then it also maximizes our time in the field in collaboration with Camp Little Pisgah in Fairview, Blue Ridge Assembly to serve Owen District, as well as Community High School in Swananoa Valley, as well as being able to utilize school property for outside experiential ed. We are, as I mentioned, in the process of speaking with Owen District leadership, school resources, and school resource officers and counselors, and currently it will continue to run in Reynolds District and Community High School. This is for the prevention, which does have to be school specific. We're in the process also through collaboration with Buncombe County School Student Services over the next few months, going to begin conversations at TC Robertson County. And then the diversion programming is supporting all students throughout the county. The next slide, our target population remains court-involved youth ages 14 to 17 who are delinquent, undisciplined, or diverted, those at risk of court involvement. Program component is labeled in this system as interpersonal skill building and continues to be so. However, the bulk of the training, both the clinical modalities and intervention facilitation trainings, are evidence-based and proven to be effective and highly utilized interventions for the reduction of substance use and misuse, as well as behavioral and mental health challenges. Cohorts are implemented and grouped based on time of referral, gender identification, and age. And the prevention component, again, is just that, prevention. It's earlier intervention, same age groups, just further upstream, with direct communication with school resource officers within the city and county, school counselors, and both of our programs now have responded to some feedback and just overall numbers that we've seen to really extend our referral sources. We're working extensively with other JTPC funded programs. We have a number of students who are currently enrolled with Monos and we're navigating onboarding and enrollment into our programming. And we also have individual adolescent counselors in the community that are referring to us, and then we're getting anticipated outreach from family members who are then going through the school system for school direct referrals. We developed this prevention component really with the sole goal to serve more students. We had always hoped about 1 year into our diversion contracts that if we could move this further upstream and work directly with students before they even knew what the core counselor was, it felt as if it would be a really effective alignment with the interpersonal skill building, social emotional learning concepts and tenets of our delivery model. We finally figured out how to navigate a number of systems and began our pilot program January of 2024 and have nothing but positive feedback from family members, student participants, school leadership and counselors, and have been trending towards either full capacity and occasionally exceeding capacity for those cohorts with wait lists. The next slide. So why choose an adventure program? So we've been working extensively with the Outdoor Research Collaborative, which is one of the, I think the word is preeminent, I hope it is, research-based collaboratives in the country that does peer-reviewed journals and research on a doctorate level for adventure-based and wilderness-based programming and intervention. Experiential and therapeutic adventure-based interventions are proven tools for supporting youth facing adversity, particularly in prevention and diversion programming. The ORC has published a number of studies demonstrating that therapeutic adventure techniques support the development of resilience in young people facing all degrees of adversity. Youth who are experiencing trauma in various care systems, teens in community mental health, and young people who are battling social and behavioral challenges. The commonality among all of those studies is that these young people have faced adversity, are facing adversity, and through therapeutic adventure programs are developing resilience and positive outcomes. Most of the youth that we are working with have spent their childhoods and are currently navigating various degrees of trauma. One of the main results of that is the lack of opportunity to develop positive and effective healthy coping skills. So in our work, clients learn how to work with their peers, develop supportive strategies to help one another and themselves, to self-advocate, to identify safe parents and mentors, to ask for help for their peers and themselves. There's a resilience scholar named Ann Maston who calls these resilience development skill building opportunities ordinary magic. So everyday magic, coping skills, social support, self-confidence, and positive interactions in the world become the ordinary magic demonstrated by young people who are resilient to adversity. And that is largely due to these types of programs. The next slide covers the therapeutic modalities that all of our team are trained in. The basic umbrella kind of category here is the social emotional learning. We're developing skills to understand and manage emotions, build positive relationships, make responsible decisions, and develop empathy. I'm happy to dive into a little bit of the granular with these models. I have the notes here that I can kind of read off to you. We can talk about it more if you'd like. On the next slide, particularly this year, over the last maybe 12 to 15 months, we've just had a lot of curiosity from various referral sources regarding whether or not we have a formalized curriculum. So I just wanted to, I know this is, you can't be that, right? But this is what we've been creating since fiscal year 2020, informed by all of the work that we're doing, the training and the collaboration and consulting with Outdoor Research Collaborative. This is the 10-week scaffolding structure of our curriculum.
Excuse me, we got a ticket about an issue with the AV in this room. Is that resolved now, or?
It is not resolved, but we have this all-day meeting and we have a workaround, so we're gonna keep going for now.
Okay.
With what is working.
But no, the room is not working correctly.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
So you guys are good as is to run it?
At this
outside of her?
moment in time, what is happening is working. So
Okay,
it's gonna-
I'm sorry to interrupt. They said to head over here right away, so I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is the scaffolded structure of our curriculum. This is adaptable to both diversion and prevention programming. Additionally, it's adaptable to each school setting, right? So like at community high school, for example, there was a period of time immediately after Helene where we couldn't go outside. It wasn't safe. There was dust that apparently was toxic. So this allows us to adapt to the environment, the school population specifically, and each cohort composition. I think it's also valuable to mention that the onboarding intake process for both of these components is navigated by the same individual, the same position, and the same process. So in the event that we get a referral for the prevention program, and as a result of the individualized service plan interview and meeting with the family and discussing, further details past the referral document, these students are more than what they are on paper. Maybe it becomes clear that a particular student would benefit more from the extended Saturday programming. We can just make that decision with parent and guardian approval and referral source approval and agreement. We don't have to begin the intake process all over. So one funnel to either component. On the next slide, it's a shot taken from, I think this is half of one of our prevention cohorts. We utilize two different data-driven assessment and tracking methods for all of our programs, both components. One is called My Outcomes, which I'll give you a little snapshot of on the next slide. And the second is a curated set of pre and post tracking forms that we do on all of our outings. So every time we go out with a group, we're doing both of these assessments at the beginning and at the end of each outing. The My Outcomes is a program company that does feedback informed treatment, which allows us to track the therapeutic relationship between the guides, the group as a whole, and the individual participants. So we're doing interpersonal skill building, so we need to be able to track how effective there is trust and rapport within the group and between the group and the guides. Both of these data tracking methods were created with the guidance and consultation of the co-executive directors of the Outdoor Research Collaborative. And these provide self-assessment questions from the students over the content of the session. So self-regulation skills, emotional awareness skills, core value identification skills, healthy pro-social communication skills, et cetera. Both tracking tools work in conjunction with one another to provide a robust lens, not only on overall deliverables, but also client progress and facilitator engagement. If we go to the next slide, one of the benefits that we really love about My Outcomes is this is real-time tracking of the therapeutic relationship between our staff and the students. If you'll notice that dip about 3 to 4 sessions in, that's actually normative. And it's actually a great thing, because what that dip is telling us is that we are effectively cultivating honest and true rapport with our students. And instead of everything's hunky-dory, I'm fine, or getting a bunch of 5s across the board or a bunch of 0s across the board, we're getting genuine interaction. What we're most proud of is that, and I can show you other snapshots of current clients after the dip. So the black line is questions related to what happens when they're not with us, so in between sessions. The gray line might be a little harder to see, which is also trending positive, is what's happening during the outing. That's the session tracking. So what we're most proud of is that the effectiveness of the feedback loop on how the relationship is between any student and our staff is when it dips, we have a meeting that week before the next outing with our staff, talk about what went down, take a look at the individualized service plan, and make sure that we are fully engaged with what that student and our staff co-created as far as goals, in addition to any criteria or goals that are of maximum importance from the referring source. Does that make sense? Okay. This is an overall target assessment of the dates July 1st, 2024 to, I guess, the 10th. These are tracking in addition to the interpersonal skill building core values that we are discussing in general for any of our programs. These also take into account the co-created goals, right? So this is a little more student participant led, which is also in alignment with all of the clinical modalities that we are utilizing. This is about intrinsic motivation, participant buy-in, and their lens on the effectiveness of this. And we feel it most effectively becomes transportable after our programming. So just something that we shared with the monitors, and we wanted to throw it up there again. This is also a decent enough time to let you all know that over the course of the last 2 years, we were in the process of and are now, our adventure programs are recognized as accredited by the international accrediting body, the Association of Experiential Education. Their focuses are on risk mitigation to participants, program effectiveness, and implementability, actually, and data tracking. I'm happy to talk about that a little more as well. The next couple of slides are just examples of the pre and post assessment forms that we created with the support of Outdoor Research Collaborative. So these are outcomes of our two-pronged tracking and assessment approach. So the next slide, these are examples of developed coping skills and strategies. On the next slide, examples of healthy pro-social interactions. This one relates to family. I think there is a bit of a grain of salt that we need to take, again, to accommodate for students who might self-assess that, yeah, I do this every time, or rather, no, I never do this. The more time that we spend with our staff incorporating the feedback-informed treatment model, we're able to really dial in skill building deliverable where the support staff, because we have 2 guides for every outing, the support staff can actually walk through these answers next to the student as opposed to just passing around an iPad. So we are continuing to trend in a more accurate collection of data. And the next slide is self-compassion and self-care examples. This is reflecting on the previous week between sessions. So on a scale of 1 to 2 times, 2 to 4 times, or I did it every day. The final slide, I think this is the final slide in the assessment. Yeah, is specific. So we're tracking how often one is using the skills that we're talking about, and then we have an opportunity for students to self-report what specific skills they're utilizing. The examples are pretty interesting. Other doesn't always capture very effective and useful information, frankly. Sometimes when we're kind of wrapping up, this is one of the last questions. Sometimes those answers are colorful. So we just keep it as good. This is the breakdown of the funding request in comparison to last year. I just wanted to kind of speak to the constant effort that we as an organization are focused on to take the feedback that we're getting from all referral sources and incorporate it into what we're planning to do next. So this current year, the request is up there on the board. We were awarded enough funding from JCPC specifically to support 36 students. The proposal for the upcoming fiscal year is actually, I don't know what that is, $3,500 less to serve more students, actually to serve the same amount of students we had proposed to serve last year. One of the reasons we're able to reduce how much we're asking for is the creation of this community liaison, dedicated point person to interact with all school court counselors, all other community JCPC funded and otherwise programs, all court counselors. This is a dedicated point person who is currently working as a guide, so knows our program intimately as well as the population that we're working with, and is also a licensed mental health clinician. So during the intake process, we have that informed information. The biggest discrepancy with our current numbers is that I was wrong on which component was going to have the best response. So we currently, if you look at the fancy color coded for the funding sheet, that's just what I'm looking at. We currently have 16 students to date served in the diversion program. We have 4 additional students from Conversations with Manos, Open Doors of Asheville, and local clinicians that work with adolescents in the pipeline. We're just finalizing paperwork, so that's 20. That'll happen before the end of June 30th. And then we currently have 12 students in our prevention program, of which we were funded to serve 6. So we currently have 12, we have 5 more in the works for this cohort. Community high school is a little different, so it's rolling admission. But that's 17 and 16. We have an entire second cohort of the prevention program at 2 schools. Each cohort can hold 10 kids. And we have 3 more months of diversion, potential diversion referrals as well. So between the outreach and response that we've had from city and county school resource officers, our dedicated intention of diversifying our referral sources to local clinicians, school resource officers, school counselors, and leadership, in collaboration and with support of Buncombe County Student Services, and we've already kind of set the tone to begin working in collaboration with Asheville City School Student Services so that we can get an updated MOU with them. I feel pretty confident that we're gonna actually meet the original proposed 45 students served. Again, I was off on which of the 2 components they were. So we've corrected that for this year's proposal. We've tripled our ask and assumed students served for prevention moving forward. And we've halved not how many students we are willing to or going to serve, but just our projection numbers to get to the same 45, but a little more in alignment with the deliverables of our program. I think our program is very effective for diversion students. I also think it is exceptionally effective for prevention. The last slide is so you don't have to continue listening to me say how effective this is. I'm gonna not talk so you can read that, and then if I have time, I did want to share one more thing in response to
Yeah, and Hannah, are we able to keep these slides? Okay, I was just thinking, to pass out, I wanted to give the SROs that we have in the county, as well as obviously I think the sheriff would be inclined to be able to look at some of these programs that we have and the information, so I wasn't sure.
And this meeting is being recorded.
That's
They
true.
would like to, put it on in the background of their. Yeah.
So this is a testimonial that I think it took me longer to find this parent's contact information from our contact record than it took for her to write it up. And then if I can just have one more moment, I wanted to speak to the adaptability and implementability of our program and our delivery model in particular. We noticed this the first time when COVID hit, because we were able to do experiential and therapeutic work outside, which was the only place that at the time we thought we were able to do it. Once again, the adaptability of our program and our staff was made evident in response to Aline. This is not captured in any of the students served, but for all, I don't know, of the 6 weeks in the immediate aftermath of that storm, all but the first week. So for the last 5 weeks of that response time, we were going into distribution sites to support families while their parents and or guardians were waiting in line for emergency supplies. We were able to provide experiential education to students and family members within sight of their parents and families, because we certainly didn't want to add to the trauma that anyone was experiencing. And what we're most proud of is the continued collaboration with community high school, where we went in every Wednesday, and instead of offering after-school programming, we were in the school with permission from the student principal to support anywhere from 18 to 25 students a week. Sometimes taking over entire classes for the purposes of social emotional learning and decompression exercises, because the teachers also needed a break. We were happy to do it. We're actually talking with Kathy over at Community High about doing a bit of a hybrid with our prevention model, making sure that we're meeting all the metrics and requirements of the prevention component proposal that we have here, while also being able to maximize how many students we can support.
Thank you, Matt. questions? People here or anyone virtually?
I just have a comment. While I am more touched by the narrative stories and the responses and all of that, I really appreciate how you captured the data and the objectives and all of that in the graphs. I think that that's really useful for the numbers, number crunchers. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, if I could just build on that, monitoring and going, to sit with them, what Matthew and his group is doing in the curriculum, ultimately, my thought process is we're doing a disservice and not referring more to him. I think that in the very near future, they're going to be using Pivot Point and the curriculum and how they're documenting other folks within, the adventure wilderness therapy to look at that program and use it as a guide. So I think we need to get more folks his way, however we do that. But looking at it and understanding it and taking that time with you is a very worthy program for sure.
I will say the year prior, I did the monitoring, and no pun intended, to pivot to the prevention model to allow you to get into schools is about to just blow up. I can just see you're already talking about, it's already been in Reynolds, we're talking about Owen, TC, possibly the county schools, Asheville City. That's about to see that number just growing exponentially at that point. So kudos, I guess, to kind of getting into the school system, which is where we want y'all to be without having to attach yourself necessarily to a DJJ sort of disposition. So getting ahead of that curve because we want to prevent crime within the youth. And so I think it was a great move to be able to dive into the schools and get in there. So anything, any sort of assistance you may need in Buncombe County schools or anything of that, SROs or whatever schools, any leads, I think same thing with the city. We'll be likely to piggyback on any referrals or recommendations you may need for you to get into those schools. Any other questions? Concerns, comments?
If it's helpful, I just wanted to, I hadn't put it on the spreadsheet that y'all have here, but if it's helpful, just for the 23 through 24, really 24, 25 allocations, because the second program was only funded last year. But last year, as Matt was talking about, one, again, like with Buncombe Alternatives, one program exceeding expectations and one, where the youth are kind of switching to one mode versus the other, a little bit more than you first anticipated a year ago. For the numbers that you all had funded them at before, that 101,751 that's on the very left of the spreadsheet was broken down last time at 84,556 for JCPC funds for the skill building, the Saturday program, and then only 16,000 for the after school model, 16,893. Those have reversed.
I don't know if this matters, but because we only got funding after the program was closed, whatever program was closed, so we had asked for, I think we asked for like 57 or something, and we were able to serve 6 with the money that we got. Because that's when we started working with JCPC for the prevention program, we couldn't count the pilot cohort, which had a waiting list that was filled inside of 2 hours by the AC Reynolds School District and school counselors. And we couldn't count the second cohort that took 45 minutes to fill with a waiting list. 5 students of which requested to participate into their own summer vacation based on the strength of our program. But you can't see that number because y'all didn't pay for it.
You're welcome to add that sort of thing into, now that you have, especially the forum, you're welcome to add that into the comments, just noting that, these additional young people were served through the program, even though from outside sources, for the future.
Yeah, I urged him to talk about what they did in community school during Halloween, and then hoping that's why you mentioned it today, but just this program and this group of folks are, they're at the front, they're on the front lines for sure. So very appreciative.
any sort of resistance. Obviously, we had a kind of the similar sort of thing, I think, with Right Aspire is the length. Right, you have a skill building, you go out and it's 10 weeks, and so allowing families to have to endure that. Same sort of thing with, right, DJJ and it following within that sort of programs. Having individuals and juvenile participate in it after and beyond disposition, I guess, wanting to finish it on their own. Outside of that, I guess is a testimony to the statement that you've kind of gotten from a parent. But is there ever issues, obviously, with that? It seems like it'd be, especially as we gear towards summers and things like that, people want to have a kind of free. I know you talked about last year that you pivoted, right? You'd move that from a longer course to actually 10 weeks, right? Is that it was longer before?
I think it was 2 cycles ago that we had direct feedback from the court counselors that 13 was outrageous, I think was the word that was used. And we're like, cool, because we're doing 6-hour interventions in diversion, we're never gonna hit that score for duration. But we're gonna, I think, almost triple the amount of contact hours as a result of how long our program is, like, per day. So the short answer is, yeah, there are challenges and roadblocks that we get as a result of maybe chasing down paperwork or maybe requesting an additional, which we do through our own funding sources often, additional clinical assessments for students where we're like, on paper, I think so. I'm also a little concerned about X, Y, and Z about going into the woods. Maybe there's a flight risk, any number of things. Maybe some of the subjectivity of a violent offense on paper looks all right. So during that hour to hour and a half interview, when we just get to contextualize the student as much as possible, sometimes tracking down that paperwork pushes us back a couple of weeks, and then we start to come up on the tail end of, especially if it's not an extended court counselor contract, right? Like if we only have that kind of typical, I think it's 3 months.
Be up to 6 months.
For the diversion?
But does it not start at?
You can start at 3 and goes up to.
So when we're not at an extended, we do have to navigate, and that largely can be addressed and has been addressed through more consistent communication among referral sources in our team. Another reason we created the community liaison position, for less money. It's been a thing. We've had no pushback from students for the prevention program. I think some of that has to do with leadership allowing us to excuse them from the school committee necessarily. Our experience has always been, once you are in the van and we engage in the deliverables, the rapport is there. The biggest challenge is paperwork, setting up that Zoom or in-person interview on the front end. Once the student is engaged, not across the board, but with a higher consistency, they're in it for the 10 weeks. And then we have the flexibility, because life happens and we're trying to give kids permission to be kids, like there's family vacations or there's school sports or there are other accommodations, we can just tack on that missed or rescheduled outing to the tail end of it. Again, hopefully with direct and consistent communication with the court counselors or any other referral source.
And so who's the contact person that's gonna be working with court counselors?
Community liaison?
The community liaison is a role, you wanna know who it is? So we have a current guy who is now a contract facilitator who's been working with us for this fiscal year, who came to us actually as a licensed clinician and is a big fan of the work that we do and who we offer it for. So we want to be careful not to offer somebody a position, funding for the position, but it would be this individual. So this is
So the person is in place, I guess.
Sorry, yeah, I'm long-winded. The person is in place.
Okay, thank you.
Waiting for me to text them after this.
Waiting in the wings. Thank you, Matt. All right, Moja and Nete. I guess it'd be sit together.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Yes, it is Moja and Unite.
Good morning, good morning.
Yes. So we it's gonna, I guess it'll be a co-presentation. I'm sorry we don't have a slideshow, but hopefully we can verbally let you guys know what we're still doing. So we're still serving youth between 6 and 17 who are, who are involved. And I know it's like when we say 6, it's kind of an unbelievable number, but we know from our communities it's not that hard to really imagine. But we serve them up to 18 as long as they're part of the juvenile process. What we do is restorative practices through the lens of resiliency. We do serve. I think Umoja and Unity. We're not. It's not specifically, but we definitely serve those in our community that are often overlooked. We serve those from the marginalized, underserved communities with our programs. Um, a lot of our programs are centered around resiliency, understanding what resiliency looks like. But for most of our young people and our families, it's understanding what trauma looks like as well. So, everything that we do is centered around that. One of the some of the tools that we use, some of the services that we provide and programs that we use to actually start to stimulate conversation is centered, a lot of it's centered around the arts, right? So we have a studio, we have a artist that comes in and work with them. We do poetry, we do songs, like we do dance, we do a lot of things through that. But for some people, they really don't engage that way. So we use other programs that we have from sports, like having them connected to sports teams, to having them connected with some of the people that we know that provides food services, like Daniel, Turk the Jerk, to kind of dip their feet into culinary, to work with hood huggers who is now have a youth build program so they can learn trades. But anything that they would like to do or that we can provide them with to help them not stay involved with the court system, that's what we do. Our referrals come from many different sources, of course, from juvenile justice, but it's parents, community, school, SROs, get a lot of different referrals from a lot of different places. Uh, our biggest, and we just had this for 1 year, but what we've seen is that our biggest thing that helps us connect with the students is that we use a lot of peer supports and community health workers from the community, and a lot of them are under 30, and they have a valuable lived experience. They have a connection with the young people that kind of like, I don't know, they kind of embrace it, and they start these connections and start these relationships, and they start to, we see them start to do better as far as school goes and their behavior goes, and changing their mindsets. So yeah, everything we do is centered around our curriculum, the healing our personal experience for the future curriculum, which is for our youth. Uh, yeah, so I'm gonna let Jose talk about Unite, and then we'll talk numbers and budgets and all that good stuff.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. UNET is utilizing this opportunity to go deeper and assist other families. For us, has been pretty much the referrals from the schools. And we have some cases that involves also having those engagements with the families, knowing exactly what's going on, trying to understand the source of the situations at home. And during those interviews, we understand there are some challenges at home. So we also provide with, if we know they can qualify for other programs like as Hope, Medicaid, etc., we try to support in that way. As Mr. Michael Hayes said, the restorative practices and resources for resilience is important. We have students that are having situations where there's violence, and then try to integrate it to our programs that we have at the school, which is FAROS and MANOS, has been helping a lot. We are also trying to expand to other programs such as Pivot. We're in conversations with them because we found the value on those two they need outdoor space because and culturally speaking, if it is not soccer or other situation, we are not able to go outdoors. So it will be a great practice to go out there, and etc. Also, we have connections with soccer teams, and our students are doing better. And the idea is to bring in those sports, other activities, integrated with the rest of the students. And during Manos, we have a couple of our students or these clients that we're helping. And then feeling that they are in community, have seen kids like them, and knowing that they may have the same or very similar challenges is helping them to be integrated to the community. As Mr. Hayes mentioned, is that the peer support is very, very important because that helped them to walking through and how to navigate in the community or integrated with the school system, which is not easy. Remember that we have kids that are just newcomers, and then they don't speak the language, they don't understand the culture, they don't understand or how to navigate the school system. So it's important to continue with this support. And obviously we want to prevent to get to the juvenile system. That's why the school system is trusting us as UNETE and Umoja to intervene before getting to make it to a bigger situation. I think we have the tools. Or community health workers, or youth coordinator is trained in the restorative practices, and you bring it to the school rooms, and then try to build that connection, the trust, which is the main thing that we try to obtain from them, and they can trust us as adults who are going to help and support them to navigate this system. Anything else, Mr. Michael?
Yeah. So before Richard starts to talk numbers, I would like to say that for us, we got into this work because we were already like working in the school systems, and we noticed the discrepancies when we would go to juvenile court and see, or we'll go to the school system, and we didn't see a lot of representation. So the trust that we built within the community, that stems from way before, we started doing this work with you all. That stems from us being in community and understanding, the adversity our communities faces. And, we've garnered the trust of the community because, like I said, we hired those from the community to help to serve the community. And so just to like share some good things that are happening. We restarted, my father started a program in 1977 called the Hillcrest Enrichment Program with the Hillcrest High Step and Majorette and Drum Corps. Now, I didn't know how vital this would be in us connecting with, some of our, a lot of our JCPC youth, but a lot of them were looking for structure. A lot of them were looking for validation. And a lot of them have received that through marching with the John R. Hayes High Step Majorette and Drum Corps. We've done, I think, like 20 different performances, and they get better and better. But not only do they get better with the performances, they start to get better in school with their behavior because there's stipulations attached to being able to march with the band. It's like you got to at least have a C average. Your conduct has to be such and such. Like you can't be getting suspended from school and expect to march. And they have really embraced the challenge of being, held accountable. Like we teach accountability, not excuses. And so that's one thing I'm very excited about, as well as we have the fact that we have 2 of our JCPC students. It would have been 3, but it would have been 4, but they have some other commitments. But we're taking them to Morehouse College in Atlanta tomorrow, partnering up with Mayhead, so they can see, and we're going to the medical school so they can see the possibilities of, them doing well right now, so they can project them to do even better in the future. So them being able to go to Atlanta, they're so excited about it, to go, to put on, a dress shirt or a polo shirt, because I know it's going to be hot in Atlanta, so we might switch that to polo shirts. But to put on a polo shirt and go to the Morehouse Medical School and meet college students and, you know, and be on the campus and see what it looks like. They are very excited about it. And that trip takes place tomorrow. And I say that to say that collaboration with other organizations and them being seen and them being validated, them understanding their worth has been like, it's been a real boost to the young people that we've served so far. And we're looking forward to serving even more. Richard, you want to go ahead and talk budget and numbers? I can't hear anything.
Me either.
Were you all able to hear anything or?
No.
Oh.
But I already was gonna say I didn't have to hear it. I was wondering about everybody else.
Can I talk to me?
Certainly, we're asking for the same amount as we did last year, about $73,500. We've reduced the number of clients served from 60 to 50, which we believe is a more realistic number that we're going to be able to serve. It increases the cost per client by about $300. We continue to utilize 3 staff members plus Mr. Hayes as the supervisor for the program, and about $20,000 of the funding goes to UNITE as a sub-grantee and their work. Jose, Ms. Norma, Luis, and Ms. Luisa over at UNITE. It continues to be a wonderful partnership, and we get a lot of great community collaborations through the program. As Mr. Hayes suggests, we're able to give clients, the youth in our program, a lot of opportunities to connect with other programs and opportunities. So, any questions for Mr. Jose, Mr. Hayes, or myself?
Is that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Doctor.
The 73.5, I think, that included, like a trip to, I don't even know what you just said. It's been a week. So, like, traveling for those trips, funding that, that's included in this budget ask?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. We do supply the in-kind. I forgot to mention that, you know, in addition to the 12,500 that we get through grants and donations, the in-kind support that we provide to the program is great. Thank you, Dr.
You're welcome.
Lorraine.
And what I was gonna say wasn't so much a question, that was more of a just for those who are looking at like program agreements, because I know, Richard, you mentioned the cost per student changing by like $300. So for those of you who are newer to looking at program agreements, that would be like on the 3rd page where it's got, you probably have all seen it on here, but on the 3rd page where it's got, sort of in the middle of those, where it's got the number of youth they plan to spend, plan to serve, where it's got the 50, and then it averages out the cost per youth to 1,917. Those numbers include not just the JCPC funds, but their total budget. So they do vary depending on how much in kind and match a program has.
Thank you for that, Lorraine.
I know that
this is more, doesn't have to be dealt with today, but I know that the state looks at that. Are they looking at this total cost or are they looking at the cost per student based off of the JCPC funding?
Oftentimes that for the JC, every year we do a JCPC legislative report, and so legislators are looking at that oftentimes, because they get the statewide numbers, so they're looking at the cost per student often. So that's why, like, if you have a program where you're getting, where you're not serving all the student numbers that you anticipated, the cost per student, would go up. So you, as programs, you want to look at those, and many, I know some places, like at Henderson, they put that on the spreadsheet as a point that they look at when they're decision making, and certainly you can add that on, but you all have the program agreements as well, so.
So another question, and this is not necessarily to you, emotion, it's more so to this room, and just if I'm off base, let me know. The grant that you're receiving, is it federal funding? That's part one of the question.
This is state funding.
No, but the 12,005, is it?
Oh, that comes from a variety of sources.
Okay, but is any of it federal? I'm going somewhere with this, I promise.
No,
Okay,
we do not receive federal funding.
okay. So where I was going with that was with all of the executive orders, like we're having to look at our grants for local organizations who are applying for grants. And how do we handle that? So I just wanted to, I was hoping that your 12,005 wasn't at risk of being taken because you're working with marginalized youth in your today. That's where I was going with that. Okay, thank you.
Just to repeat something that I said with the other point. I think we were all blown away by the video you showed us last year. However, I also think that for purposes of the granting, that all of those beautiful graphs and statistics and all of that, and we talked about that when we were visiting with you all, is so important to the funding sources. So to just, we talked about a data person to do some of that, or does that fall on you, Richard?
Yes, it does.
And since that time, I'm sorry, since we had that meeting, we've already started collecting like data. We even have a survey, for the for former band members and current band members on how, instrumental it was to building self-esteem and things like that. So yeah, we are definitely gonna be ready, when we're talking data and surveys and all that good stuff.
Thank you for the question.
No more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I feel like we should take a break before deliberation. So how long does that matter? Do we wait on?
So, I think that our lunch delivery is coming around 11:45. So unless they show up early, which would kind of flow very nicely. I think I'm gonna leave it to you for when to gather back. If George had to step out for just a moment, once he is back, if everyone else is here, including Brandon and Shannon online, thank you so much for your joining online. If everyone who's been in the room for JCPC members ends up back in the room at the same time, then we would have a quorum to be able to vote on the budget amendments that I know would be helpful for Aspire to move forward. But otherwise, I think, yeah, break for a minute for people to do what they need to do before they come back together. How long?
Wait till food comes, or do we start? George won't be here probably for about 30 minutes, he said, so.
Do y'all wanna take a 30-minute break and including getting the food together and then come back to really start deliberating at noon? Well, that's 45, but 30 minutes would be to. Or do you wanna jump back in 15 minutes?
Let's go with it. All right, we'll just come back in 30 minutes.
30 minutes? Okay.
Yes.
All right, good. So if you're most comfortable, you're gonna take a 30-minute break, and so
I feel like food's gonna be.
we'll hop back in around
Think so?
1:35.
Yeah, I'll go walk.
Okay, I'm sorry, 11:35, not one.
What?
Hi.
back to their seat. We're gonna start discussions.
Just a quick check, Shannon.
I hear that. I hear that. I have received it.
Good job.
Thank you. All right, so we want to start discussing the allocations. Anybody have anything they would like to say?
I have no concerns about the programs we have applied today.
Everything looks good.
I agree. I mean, I think we're in a good place. I'm totally on board with agreeing with everything that was proposed. And in addition, that I'd like to discuss, which of course, which is the $10,860 that we have left over. I would like to recommend giving Pivot Point 5430 and Emergent Unite 5430, splitting that. And the reasoning behind that is that Burn and Learn and Aspire were able to, receive 25,000 each towards the purchase of a van, with the distribution of funds from, or the reallocation of funds from the Buncombe County program. So the other programs had submitted, so I think it would be wise and make sense to split that money and go ahead and allocate to them. That would be my recommendation. I'm of course open.
Second.
We've got Robert rules of order. We've got the proposal, then the discussion. Mr. Jump ahead, man.
I do want to confirm, Shannon or Brandon, can either of you just send up a emoji or a chat to confirm that you can hear us? Maybe it's possible that they had to step away. I mean, I can also text Brandon. I'll keep checking on it while you guys continue, and if they join back in, then maybe someone can re-share what we've been discussing.
All right, proposal is up for discussion.
And so I'm not a voting member, I'm here for feedback and all that stuff, and I'm in agreement. We utilize all these programs. While the numbers are not above and beyond, but we do make referrals to all of these JC programs, and I think they're appropriate, and so I don't have any issues. We've had a few hiccups at some point, but we've addressed those with Lorraine, and she's addressed those with the program, so I think all of them are pretty much in good standing that we could make referrals to the program, so.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Yes, ma'am.
We need to ask the programs whether they would like to accept the money.
Yes, we do. No, we didn't. We asked them to do.
Well, y'all can ask it. You want to be sure.
Yeah.
That's a yes from Mojo.
Yes,
we would be able to do that.
And that is a yes from Pivot Point.
And may I make it clear?
Yes, you may.
And I would just want to clarify, because some of us have had sort of side conversations, but I just wanted to clarify for the meeting, the public. Just to not confuse what you all are voting for, in the February JCPC meeting. You split the 50,000 from the Buncombe County Youth Justice Clinical Program closing to the two programs for their vehicles and they had to spend those funds before June 30th. And then the allocations that you all are currently adding the 10,000 to give to other discussing giving it to two programs. Those funds would start July 1st. So they are different sets of funds in different fiscal years, and they wouldn't be able to start using those additional funds until July 1st for the next year.
How many voting members do we need to have?
The good news is, I always think that we're looking at the old policy, which said 10. And then we end up with more than 6, which is the current policy. So we need 6 voting JCPC members to be able to vote on allocation. I know that if we're able to get 12 voting JCPC members together before we break, that would be really wonderful for Aspire to be able to, for us to have a full JCPC quorum to approve their pending budget amendment about this year's funding. But we have
I don't have 12.
oh, Dr. Noah's back. So if George comes back and both Shannon and Brandon can affirm, I think Brandon's listening. If Shannon, I can get a confirmation that she's available, then we would have 12 voting JCPC members for the budget amendment. But to proceed with the allocations discussion, you all can proceed if we have more than 6 voting members.
All right. So is there any other proposals? Is there a motion on the table?
Yeah, I move to fund all of the programs and then split the remaining, just like Angie said, between point and motion.
Second.
All right. The motion has been seconded. And all programs were funded.
Is that a vote?
Oh, I gotta vote. Thank you. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Say nay.
I think I see Brandon, you're raising a hand. I think that means that you're approving. You are not, please send me a chat. Okay, for joining us as a panelist.
Yes, Hannah, yes. Sorry.
Great, thank you, Brandon. Shannon, are you there yet? And then she was about a minute away. Well, I think even without Shannon, you have enough for that to be considered a pass and vote for the allocation.
Right. That, so order of business is finished. Now, are we waiting on George? He has not responded. I do not even see that he's read my message, so I'm not sure.
Someone else text him and see if he's just ignoring.
He could be. He could be.
I do have this open.
He could be. I don't have the work number.
Oh.
You may have that. Would you like to share your proposal? Sure. Thank you.
All right. So obviously, part of this revision includes the addition of the funds that we received for the van. And what I did was, because the price of the van was more than the 25,000, I moved underspent funds in some areas to help cover the JCPC portion of the van, and then we provided a cash match of 10,000. Sorry, $10,538. So that is also being added. And then, very importantly, we zeroed out the contract for the music and audio and cinema instructors, because it was a 300 item, which means we had to contract with a company to do that. And instead, we moved them to become personnel of Aspire directly. And we got rid of that vocational coach position and swapped it out for the second multimedia instructor that I talked about in the presentation. So that resulted in, we were able to use we zeroed out the contract, and we were able just to move money around within the salary line items to make all of that work. And then the line item adjustments that I made were a slight increase for fringe benefits, because those went up a little bit. Just depends on what employees elect in terms of their benefits. They don't participate in all of them necessarily. Stat mileage reimbursement, communication, repairs, maintenance, advertising, In our client record system, all of those, we had increased costs, and then we had decreased costs up to this point in the year, but I did project forward for the remainder of the year, running both the connection and Kids at Work, but overall, we still had a reduction in the total amount that we would spend in food and gas. So that's everything, I think. Lorraine will let me know if I left anything out, but I think I got it all.
I think that's. And I'll see if I can. Do you want me to, if there are any questions, I can pull up budget revision and email it to you, Anna, so you can put it up this morning.
Okay. And I have a hard copy too, if anybody wants to look at the specifics. Pass around.
Any questions about the line item revisions?
The reason Kim needed approval today is you all had already voted on the band funds for budget revision, but the change with the programming from the making changes to the program agreement for how it's structured from the vocational coach to the two positions that they've hired for the connection.
All right.
You not respond.
I could ping Judge Johnson Smith. I know that she would want a like thorough explanation, but she might be available. I think.
But I can, and we can send her the budget.
Oh,
yeah, she's
good.
Andy is technically stepping down, and him stepping down is part of what lets us have a 12-person quorum. But also he did submit just a few days ago that due to his work commitments, he'd been planning to roll off this summer, the change of the fiscal year, but he can't make the next couple of meetings, so he figured he'd go ahead and submit his resignation so that someone else could step in. Anyone else can think of a JCPC member who might be happy to jump on quickly?
Don.
He might, I'm trying to figure out if he has on screen.
Deja.
Yeah, she could vote on another program budget. I mean, if you want to text her.
I mean, she's not out of the for us, but
Yes.
but
Who is it? Deja Cheney, she has been approved as the new JCBC board member, and she's an intern with Buncombe Alternatives, so we wouldn't be voting on anything related to Buncombe Alternatives budgets, but this should be fine to vote.
and if that doesn't work out, Hannah, I did just send you a copy of the budget revisions.
Okay.
Oh, maybe it's a, oh, no, it's a PDF. If Judge Doug's. Come on.
She heard the presentation. Deja heard the presentation before, tired. Okay, oh, great.
You need assistance.
Yeah,
Oh, a first responder.
I'm good. Have you seen my Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, I would have like, and I just took
Scott Dennis could jump on, he would still, it would still be 11 and a half. 12 would still be okay, if he were. He's got like 3 more days before his term expires.
Gotcha, are you counting him in your mind?
Well, so with Andy gone, yeah, with Andy gone, that makes 23 total. Scott gone, it makes 22, so I think either way, 11.5 or 11 plus 1 would be 12 people.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah. That's fine. Wait, he'll know that he's being missed already. His contributions outside. And he did contribute a lot to the planning committee.
Andy?
Scott,
Andy and Scott,
Scott Dennis is also stepping down, his 2-year term wraps up on the 16th.
Yes, Scott was.
Susanna Knox.
On the thing, on this thing.
But you could vote like Charlie with the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Let's go.
While we're waiting for that, another was kind of news item. That's when Crystal Lewis, she's gonna come and train Port purposes next Tuesday for their red training. For racial and ethnic disparities, but they have a specific. They have specific needs internally that they're looking at for their training, that they want to focus on the court service. But she did respond and say she could come and do a training for the JCPC to follow up with the racial and ethnic disparity data. For JCPC members and for school justice partnership members, if y'all want to include them. But we haven't set a date yet, because she said she could come next Tuesday, but by the time she said that a couple of days ago. Right. People already have the date taken.
And I mean, Lorraine, I feel if she can't come in person. Virtual, but it was a little bit of a technical fiasco last time.
Last year, I think it was the new equipment. But hopefully, I'll check with her and see, maybe there's another day she's gonna be training in this end of the state.
Okay.
Yeah, like this will be in 3 days. Yeah.
That's on that 23, 24.
I want to say, yeah, so something.
I did just text CC him.
Thank you, I was just waiting for a number.
In person would be wonderful though, because she's a good trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was. It would be not her night. I'm sure she'd enjoy it too.
I just read press release.
Okay, question. So how much longer do we just wait? Because then we can just decide not to. You don't have to wait until another time, because I respect everybody's time. I say 5 more minutes, just because we can't get right there. And George has come running in.
I know with some things in the past, we voted and then waited for another vote, and then your email. Yeah.
You said, yeah.
I have to look at. Yeah, but I think that you-
We've definitely done it in the past, like, early,
Yeah, I think.
like. The final, like if we all voted now and then say George.
Should we
later.
vote and get his vote later?
Well, and also, since George was here earlier. And was part of, and we have, if we've been in a meeting and then you leave and are coming back. There, I think George could still technically, you could just ask him if you could.
We can get his vote.
He would be the most.
So that would be the.
Yeah.
Since he's planning to come back, I think you could do that, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So we have 11 JCPC voting members here. Anyone would like to make a discussion or proposal or motion regarding the pending budget revision, then we can follow up with George about the vote. Hopefully before the end of today.
So I move to approve the Aspire revision.
I second. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion is
The
moved.
motion is almost.
Almost. Almost now.
One. I'll follow up with George today. I did also send out an SOS to the whole JCPC. So I have that budget revision on hand. If somebody else, Lorraine, were to follow up and review the budget revision via email, would it be appropriate to share the pending motion with them?
If you ended up doing, I think George probably is the easiest because he was already here
Yeah.
and that is a technical.
Great. I'll just follow up.
That's
with
probably
that.
the easiest, I wasn't there, I hadn't thought of that. But if in the future, if you need to do an email vote like that, you would need to include the
Everybody.
emails and like who voted which way in the minutes of the next. Part to show that.
Oh, actually, I will, before we break, I do have one question for those of you in the room. The next regularly scheduled JCPT meeting is supposed to be, the third Thursday of April, which is over spring break for both school systems. So, the executive committee discussed a couple of things. I can send out a Google poll to see if people would like to reschedule to the week before or the week after, or we can see if people would just prefer to meet on the regularly scheduled date and time and do it all virtually. I will not be in person and George will not be in person. So if anybody has any initial thoughts before I send something out to the whole group, welcome your input. Go with Google. Go
See how
Google.
people respond, that's my recommendation. You know?
We need to motion this. I would propose a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
Great.
You vote? No. That's just it. Our time to go.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks.
Thank you, Shannon. I think Brandon does that. And thanks all of you for do this.
I told him that. He must be handling it. I feel like my women's spin powers are activating. I need to go save my brother. So I can handle this. No, I cannot.
Oh.
How you doing? Good. Good. What'd you think of? Yeah.